Britain's Cabinet Office Minister Michael Gove said the European Union had recognized they made a mistake by briefly attempting to restrict some exports of COVID-19 vaccines by invoking an emergency Brexit clause. The EU reversed the plan to use the Article 16 clause to restrict exports of COVID-19 vaccines from crossing the Irish border into Britain within hours on Friday, after the move sent shockwaves through Northern Ireland and in London and Dublin.
Well, I think the European Union recognise now that they made a mistake yesterday. The Commission made a mistake. They didn't consult us, they didn't consult our friends in Dublin, and they united parties in Northern Ireland from Sinn Féin on one side to the DUP on the other in condemnation. And people in Northern Ireland were bewildered by this step. Now, the Commission have stepped back. And I've talked to the Commission Vice President Maroš Šefčovič about this. He recognises, he's committed to making sure that the Belfast Agreement works in the interests of all of Northern Ireland's people, and he recognises, therefore, that we do need a reset. And I'm looking forward to working with him and the parties in Northern Ireland to help address the problems that people in Northern Ireland have identified.
The initial decision to use the Brexit clause, part of the wider EU plans to control the exports of vaccines, illustrated how the carefully tuned Northern Ireland Brexit protocol can go awry, as well as showing the panic over vaccine availability. Preserving the 1998 peace deal that ended 3 decades of sectarian bloodshed in Northern Ireland without allowing the UK to become a backdoor into EU's market through the UK-Irish land border. The protocol achieved this by keeping Northern Ireland both in the EU's single market for goods and the UK's customs territory.
Well, when friends make mistakes, the most important thing to do is to help everyone to get back onto the right track. So, yes, a mistake was made yesterday, but I think it's also important that we recognise that while we must prioritise the vaccination of British citizens, it's also in our interests to support our friends and neighbours with their vaccine programme. And we will do that consistent with making sure that contracts are honoured, promises are kept, and that UK citizens are vaccinated first.
People waited in line to receive COVID-19 vaccines at Boston's Fenway Park on Friday as the US looks to step up vaccine distribution. The mass vaccination site began by vaccinating a smaller group of people ahead of its official opening on Monday, February 1st. In Charlotte, North Carolina's Bank of America Stadium, another mass vaccination site opened with an ambitious agenda. Public health officials aim to administer 19,000 vaccinations by Sunday. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said the U.S. has administered 27,884,661 doses of COVID-19 vaccines in the country as of Friday morning and distributed 49,216,500 doses. The agency said 22,858,318 people had received one or more doses, while 4,780,888 people got the second doses as of Friday. The tally of vaccine doses are for both Moderna and Pfizer-BioNTech vaccines. With over 25 million cases, the United States has 25% of all reported COVID cases, although it accounts for just 4% of the world's population. The United States leads the world in the daily average number of new deaths reported, accounting for 1 in every 5 deaths reported worldwide each day. Almost 1.3% of the world's population has now been infected with COVID-19, the disease caused by the novel coronavirus, and more than 2.1 million people have died. Top U.S. infectious disease specialist Dr. Anthony Fauci on Friday said he was optimistic about Johnson & Johnson's single-dose vaccine as an additional weapon against coronavirus. The company reported was 66% effective in preventing COVID-19 in a large global trial against multiple variants. Fauci made the comments in a virtual forum with the New York Press Club. In the trial of nearly 44,000 volunteers, the level of protection against moderate and severe COVID-19 varied from 72% in the United States to 66% in Latin America and just 57% in South Africa, from where a worrying variant.
The efficacy in the United States was 72%. Now, at first glance, that might not seem as good as 94-95%, but the important part of the whole thing was that for advanced severe disease, it was quite effective. Overall, it was about 85% effective, and there were no hospitalizations or deaths in the individuals who were vaccinated, which is very good news. So although the number of efficacy number, namely 72%, wasn't as impressive as 94, 95, it is clearly value added, both in the United States and importantly for developing nations for the following reasons. It's a single dose vaccine, not a 2-dose vaccine. It's relatively inexpensive.
The data showed that the vaccine effect on the South Africa variant was diminished compared to the unaltered virus, but infectious disease and public health experts said it can still help contain the virus spread and prevent deaths. Rival shots from Pfizer, BioNTech and Moderna were both around 95% effective in preventing symptomatic illness in pivotal trials when given in 2 doses. Those trials were conducted mainly in the United States and before the emergence of new variants. This means that the war is racing against time and with limited supplies to vaccinate as many people as possible and quickly to prevent virus surges.
You would expect that with these mutants which are trying to escape from control, either by the immune system or other interventions, those kinds of mutations are something that you have to be concerned about and pay attention to. And what we're doing, Steve, is that we're making already, in case we have to use it to try and stay a step ahead of the game, versions of the current vaccines that have been upgraded to be able to be directed specifically against some of the mutants, particularly the mutant in South Africa, which is the most troublesome one.
German police were checking travelers flying into the country on Saturday after a ban on arrivals from several countries came into effect in a bid to prevent the spread of more infectious variants of the coronavirus. At Frankfurt Airport, police scrutinized people arriving on a flight from Manchester, UK, to ensure they were exempt from the ban and had all the necessary documentations, including a negative coronavirus test result.
Also ich habe natürlich schon Verständnis dafür. Es sollte natürlich ernst genommen werden, die Situation. Natürlich, die Zahlen in England sind ja fast doppelt so hoch wie hier und deswegen kann ich es schon nachvollziehen. Aber dass man jetzt so von der Polizei empfangen wird, weiß ich nicht, war schon ungewohnt. Vor allem, wir waren jetzt 5 Monate in England gewesen und ich weiß nicht, es fühlt sich natürlich schon komisch an.
Ich muss sagen, dass ich da schon Verständnis habe. Also vor allem in der aktuellen Situation, wenn ich das mit England vergleiche, da sind die Leute viel leichtsinniger und ich habe das Gefühl, dass der Staat das nicht so ernst nimmt und vor allem auch die Leute. Es war teilweise auch so, dass die Leute da manchmal auch keine Masken getragen haben und deswegen verstehe ich es halt, dass die Zahlen in England sehr hoch sind.
A police spokesman told that as of midnight on Friday, entry to Germany was no longer allowed for travelers from Brazil, Britain, Ireland, Portugal and South Africa unless they were German residents. Among the passengers on the Manchester flight were 2 teaching students who had spent 5 months in England. Both expressed understanding for the new measures, with one adding that she thought the British government wasn't taking the situation as seriously as Germany. Health officials have grown increasingly worried about the new variants which, by being more infectious and spreading more quickly, are able more rapidly to bring health system to a point of overload.
Die Bundespolizei hat alle Maßnahmen abgestimmt mit den Landesbehörden, mit den Gesundheitsämtern, die sie hier durchführen. Und wir appellieren dringend an die Airlines, an die Fluggesellschaften, die Auflagen zu befolgen, weil es hilft uns alle, die Pandemie zu bekämpfen und vor allen Dingen insbesondere zu verhindern, dass das mutierte Virus nach Deutschland eingeschleppt wird.
India has suspended mobile internet services in 3 areas around the capital, Delhi, where farmers are staging a hunger strike in protest at new agriculture laws. The government said the shutdown will continue until Sunday night to maintain public safety. Tens of thousands of protesting farmers have been camped out on Delhi's outskirts for more than a month. Talks between the unions and the government have failed to break the deadlock. The protest made international headlines on Tuesday when a tractor rally ended in violent clashes that left 1 protester dead and dozens of police officers injured. Some demonstrators stormed Delhi's historic Red Fort and occupied it until police pushed them back. Farmers' leaders said Saturday's one-day hunger strike had been timed to coincide with the anniversary of the death of independence leader Mahatma Gandhi. The laws loosen rules around the sale, pricing and storage of farm produce which have protected India's farmers from the free market for decades. Farmers fear that the new laws will threaten decades-old concessions such as assured prices and weaken their bargaining power, leaving them vulnerable to exploitation by private companies.